Welcome to Comic Power. I am your host, Comic Killer 72. This segment today is called Wicked Wednesday. If you didn't know, Wednesday is the new release for new comics that come out every week. These are my recommendations for the best books to pick up on Wednesday. I will also name one book to be the speculation pick of the week. Comic publishers are selling a lot of comics this year, and a lot of books are going to second prints, which we're going to get into. First up, DC is giving us Batgirl and the Birds of Prey Rebirth #1. At the making of this video, it's 2 weeks before the debut of the Suicide Squad, and we know it's going to be a smash success, probably breaking the $1 billion club. And there's going to be a Harley Quinn spin-off movie, and the rumor mill is that it's going to be a girl power movie with her as the lead star, but there will be other female characters. So Batgirl and Black Canary and Poison Ivy, characters like that might show up in it, making issues like this important going forward because of the movies. Next up is Batman #3, which is a no-brainer because it's Batman. The previous creative team really had a great run with it in the New 52 with Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo, introducing the Court of Owls and other great storylines. The new creative team is Tom King and David Finch, and they got their work cut out for them if they're going to top Snyder and Capullo's run. But the new Rebirth Batman is off to a great start, so you should be paying attention. Next up is The Flash #1, which is going to a second print. Quite literally every DC Rebirth #1 they've printed has gone to reprints to satisfy the demand. Retailers had no idea how successful Rebirth was going to be, and it's been tremendously successful under Jeff Johns' run as the de facto editor-in-chief. Next up is Justice League #1 from DC Comics. This may be kind of confusing because DC did a one-shot rebirth for all their titles that were #1 issues, and then there's the ongoing #1 issue, so it confused a lot of people. So this right here is the #1 ongoing JLA issue. So this right here was a one-shot and basically is set up for what's about to happen going forward. The first appearance of the Justice League dates back to 1960 with The Brave and the Bold #28. Amazing Fantasy #15 is the first appearance of Spider-Man, so it's probably the most significant and costly comic of its era of the Silver Age, but Brave and the Bold #28 is probably second on that list. You are a big-time baller if you own one of these in comics. So anyway, the JLA is the greatest and mightiest team of DC. Marvel has the Avengers, of course, and which team is more badass is always a subject for endless debate. Next up is Hellblazer, Rebirth #1. The John Constantine character has had a cult following for a very long time. This is a good jumping on point right here. If you love horror, the occult, and psychological thrillers, this is for you. Next up, let's see what Marvel is up to, and that would be Black Panther #1, which is going to a third print. The first print had a massive print run, but still is not enough. Let's face it though, Captain America Civil War has risen the Black Panther character from a cult favorite that was a C-list character up to an A+ character virtually overnight. The actor Chadwick Boseman expertly played Black Panther. He's really nailing the character, and he stole the show in Civil War, and his 2018 movie is going to be a smash success. My only problem with this is I gotta wait to 2018. Next up is Black Widow #1, which is also going to a third print. This is a character that went from D-list up to a strong B+ due to her being played by Scarlett Johansson in the Avengers movies. Speaking of movies, Black Widow, the solo movie, is the film that Marvel needs to give us but refuses to give us for some reason. The Black Widow's bloody trail of espionage showing her missions before the Avengers, that would be awesome. But anyway, be sure to pick up the comic in case you missed it. Also dropping this week is Black Widow #5, and this is the first print. Next up is Moon Knight #3, which is also going to a third print. This character is best described as Batman, but in reverse colors and even more crazy. As of right now, he has not appeared in the MCU, but I think it would make a great television show on Netflix. Go back and watch my previous video about my predictions for Phase 4 for Marvel, and Moon Knight will be in that. Next up is Star Wars #21, which has this great Stormtrooper cover. You should be reading Star Wars because everything here is canon and could be source material for future spin-off movies. There's an action figure variant of this with this character who looks a lot like a Klansman or something, but you're better off with the regular cover. It looks much better to me. Next up is Spider-Man #6, and this is the Miles Morales version of Spider-Man and not the Peter Parker version, which is titled The Amazing Spider-Man, and this is part of the Civil War II crossover. Miles' creator Brian Michael Bendis is writing this title, so you should pick it up just for that reason alone. He created the character, so he really gets the character in terms of the character's tone and motivation. Next up is our report on independent comics and small publishers. have here is number 7 from 451 Media. This is the comic publisher that's linked to Hollywood director Michael Bay. They have some outstanding covers and some solid writing in these titles, and they're very low print runs, so they're a speculation treat. Will they be source material for movies in the future? We'll have to wait and see. Next up, we have an Archie Comics spinoff, Betty and Veronica number 1. The surprising thing about this is it's not only drawn by comic superstar Adam Hughes, it's written by Adam Hughes as well. So he gets a chance to prove that he can write a comic as well. I've always loved Adam's work. I compare him to a modern day Norman Rockwell. His images are not just big splash pages, but they tell stories. There's going to be a gazillion variants for this Betty and Veronica number 1, but you can just go ahead and get the regular cover. It looks excellent. Next up is Sombra number 1 from Boom Studios. This is issue number 1 of a 4-part miniseries. It's about a female DEA agent that's taking on violent Mexican drug cartels. Next up is Grant Morrison's Avatar X number 1 from Graphic India. This is a character that looks like it's inspired by Jack Kirby or Jim Starlin, with a design that looks like the New Gods meets Thor meets Galactus. In this story, a mythological Indian god shows up for the battle of the ages, but he arrives early, and he's got to learn to exist in a world that's too small for him. The publisher is enticing people to pick this up because they're only charging $2 for this first print number 1. Next up is the speculation pick of the week. And that's going to be Faith number 1 from Valiant Comics. You may have already seen a Faith number 1, but that was a mini-series. This is the first ongoing series starring this character. As you can see, the character is very nerdy and heavy-set. I don't think you've ever seen a lead character like that in comics before. Not in mainstream comics anyway. The mainstream media picked up on this character and really pushed it forward. She's not new though. She was introduced in 1992 in Harbinger number 1, so she's a spin-off from that, but a much lighter story. In a genre where the female characters are over-sexualized and beyond perfection, Faith is a good alternative, is a very relatable character and a very funny character as well. Next up is Image. They bring great comics every week, and this is no exception. First up is Chew, issue number 56. The creator of this comic promised that it will only be 60 issues in its run, so the end is coming soon for this cult classic, so go ahead and ride the final wave on this. Next up is a new number 1 called The Hunt. It's a supernatural horror tale where you can't tell the dreams from the reality. Next up is also another number 1 issue called Snot Girl number 1. It's from the same writer that gave us Scott Pilgrim, and it seems to be an expose and a spoof on today's modern culture of social media, body image, and stardom at all costs. It's just a little too strange to me, so I don't know if I would recommend it. I did want to mention it because it's been getting a lot of hype. Next up is Lazarus number 23. This is one of those great books that you're not reading about a dystopian future. The writer on this is Greg Rucka. He's also writing Wonder Woman for the Rebirth title. And last but not least is Wolf number 9, another underappreciated title. It's horror, it's sci-fi, it's a thriller, it's got everything, it's incredible. It's really a shame this title isn't more popular. That's about it for today. Thank you for watching Wicked Wednesday, where I review all the new comic books for a new comic day. Be sure to follow my blog at comicpower.net. On social media, follow me at facebook.com/comicpower.net and comicpower-universe.tumblr.com. And don't forget twitter.com/comicpowersub. I also sell comics on eBay at this link. This is Comic Killer 72 for Comic Power saying bye-bye. And don't forget to share this video, click on subscribe, give it a thumbs up, and tell everyone you know about this channel to help it grow. Thank you for your support.